Welcome to Pod TV. I'm Michelle and today we're going to take you through some exercises to help you restore pelvic floor dysfunctions. Anything that you might have going on in your pelvic floor that means it's too tight or too weak can cause leakage, bladder issues, bowel issues, back pain, hip pain and so on. So we're going to use these guys today. These are fascia balls. Now you can use a roller, like a foam roller. These are really the tool for the job, so contact us if you want more information about how to get these. I've got two different ones. Don't worry about the colour, but it's more about the kind of pressure inside. You'll see this one's quite strong, this one's a bit squidgier. Depending on the tightnesses you have in the body, you may want to use one or the other. What I do want you to think about though is when you're using the fascia balls, you are trying to actively kind of passively hang out, if you like. It's kind of anti to what we do in Pilates of reining it in. We're kind of hanging out. And if your body feels too tight and the pressure is too strong, then you'll be almost pulling away from it, like having a deep tissue massage where you think, oof, you're pulling away, and that sort of defeats the object. So maybe back off a bit with what you're doing, or maybe use a slightly lighter pressure so that you work a little less strong and more giving. The second thing to think about is when you're doing things about releasing, you need to work with your fascia of a little bit longer. When you are stretching a muscle, you might hold a stretch for about 7 seconds, the muscle lengthens. With fascia, it takes a little bit longer to kind of relax. It's like the spider's web that runs around the body and links the muscles and the bones and the tissues together. So let's get started. I'm going to grab both and let's jump up onto our seated position. So I'm going to use the black one to begin with, which is the stronger pressure one. And I'm basically going to sit on this ball directly on top of it. Now there's two ways you can do that. You can sit on it and you can straddle, i.e. you can open. Let's use the other ball. It's wearing black, you can see it better. You can sit on it and you can straddle it like so, and then you're in this kind of jockey position, like that. What that means is that you're taking a bit more pressure in the legs, so it's not as pressurized onto here. If I'm okay with that, then I can stretch my legs out. And by stretching my legs forward and sitting directly on top of the ball, getting the ball to stay straight, then I've got a lot more load going down. I can't see the ball anymore, it's underneath me. So for the purposes of the camera, I'm going to work in my jockey style, but you take a position that feels comfortable. It's not going to be comfortable, but the most that you can bear with. So we want to do this release for 2 minutes. Take yourself a position that you can rest. The ball is basically in your pelvic floor. That's the layer between your pivot bone and your tailbone, front to back, and your sit bone to your sit bone, side to side. I'm sitting on top of it, and then I'm resting. And I'm doing nothing here. So I like to think of these as my TV exercises, stuff that I can just sit and do whilst watching EastEnders. Other TV programs are also available. And really what you're trying to do is just breathe, let your belly relax, let your bottom relax. You're not shrinking though, so you're still sitting upright, but you're not trying to tighten the muscles, you're trying to relax them. The pelvic floor relaxes down and stretches out, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that gradual stretch and opening. The ball therefore presses a bit stronger upwards, like a massage that's getting a bit deeper. You might even feel one side of your bottom, your sit bone, being slightly lifted. And that's usually where the fascia is a bit tighter, pulling the bones away. So think about that side melting. When you've done about 2 minutes, come off your ball. And then when you sit back down onto a hard floor surface, you'll notice those 2 little bum bones, your sit bones, very prominent. And underneath those 2 sit bones, it feels like a little cavern almost. That's the diaphragm shape, like a bridge of your pelvic floor. And that's normal, that's supposed to be like that. Pressure from gravity, pressure from carrying a lot of weights, carrying weight ourselves, being overweight, carrying pregnancies, children, weight training, stuff like this can lead to a lot of inter-abdominal pressure that goes down and bears on the pelvic floor. spring down and up when it's working happily. But when it springs down, but it doesn't come back up again, then we start to get, instead of this dome shape, the pelvic floor starting to flatten, and then it can press downwards. And that's when you start to find that you're having problems in your pelvic floor. Also, however, if we've got a pelvic floor that's overly tight, we're always tightening, then it's got no balance. It's got no down and up. It's only got the tight, tight up. So it can't function either. So whatever you're tight or too weak, these exercises are for you both. From the pelvic floor, we're going into the bottom. So taking the ball again, you're now trying to find the little sit bone of your bum, and you're placing the ball onto that. Take that leg out and stretch it out. Let it relax. Use your hands and the other leg to help you. From that sit bone, I'm going to roll it all the way up past the top of my hip towards my back. Stretch this way, stretch this way, stretch this way, stretch this way, and repeat. Makes a lovely bicycle motorbike sound. And then you're going to make a bit of a circle shape. So I'm coming back to my sit bone, leaning slightly more towards the side. The ball rolls into a bit of a deep spot. You'll feel it's been an indent in your bum. I'm there, so I'm not right over to the side. I'm dropped in here, and you'll feel, oh, that's tight. The deep bum muscle. From that place, you can either rest here, or you can circle. And even actually when I rest here, and I passively hang out for a while, I can start to feel my back lengthening. And you start to be aware when you do these releases of how you are a connected body and how one thing is going to very much affect the other. So I'm releasing or circling around. And then of course, when you come off, you'll switch to your other side. From here, I'm going to go sideways. As I go sideways, I'm looking for this bone that sticks out here, the side of your hip bone. It's called the great trochanter. Take the ball and place it onto the side of that hip bone. Lie down onto your side, straighten the underneath leg, and use this foot to help you. So I've got my arm and my foot to help me. The underneath leg is passive. I'm taking my weight on the ball just slightly above that bone. And a small area, I'm going to slide my leg and roll to the waist, to the bone. The waist, to the bone. Now again, you might find that I'm working on this red lighter ball, that you might find at certain places you need something a bit stronger. Maybe the roller works better for you, maybe the ball works better, the lighter, the stronger. So have tools for your toolbox. But always just release here. Now coming slightly below that hip bone. So go back to the hip bone, go slightly below it, there, and rest the leg. Now I'm going to go down the side of this, like the side of my seam of my trouser, but I'm not rolling it. I'm now on my IT band, I'm just going to rest here. Relax, don't roll this out, just trigger it, relax here. And again, when I say relax, if you've known what this feels like, you might not feel like relaxing. Reposition this about a third of the way down. Rest again. And reposition it another third of the way down so it's by the knee. Rest again. It might feel uncomfortable. All of them might feel uncomfortable. Come off. Repeat on the other side. Once you've done those, we're now bringing it into the side of the waist. So I'm going to switch to my side. Take the ball above my hip bone, but below my rib. There's a bit of space, and depending on how your posture is, you might have less space or more space. Good to place that there. And I'm aiming for it to be more towards the back of the waist. So we're coming into the obliques now. So I'm resting my elbow, my knees are bent, and I'm just again passively hanging out. Really naughty Pilates poses, resting. We'd never be like this in Pilates. If this is enough for you, you can be here, or you can then go all the way down and completely rest down. The more you go down, the more of you that's on the ball, the more of gravity pressing down here and adding a bit more weight. So do whatever feels right for you. So here I'm at the obliques, and I'm going to cover the internal and external obliques. Some connect towards the front, some connect around towards the back. From this place then, I'm going to keep my lower body sort of still, my upper body is going to turn, and as I turn towards the mat, the ball kind of rolls underneath my rib cage, And then I can just come back. Turn towards the mat, around, and back. Remember with all these, you're trying to be passive and relaxed. You're not lifting off the ball, you're relaxing the waist into the ball. You might want to stop here for a minute, relax again, and come back. Then feel, where is your fixed rib? So let's be clear on that. You've got your sternum here, and you've got your ribs going off it. You've got all of the ribs there, and they stop here about the big ribs. They attach here to the sternum still. But then, if we continue all the way down here, you've got what we call the floating ribs. They're mainly at your back here. They don't attach to the sternum. So we don't want to place the ball on those ones, they're not attached. We want to place them on these big ones. So keep it on the same side, find that big attached rib, and place yourself onto the bone. And then again, hang out or hang out. You might often hear yourself clicking and readjusting the body. Kind of like a free chiropractic treatment. And again, make sure you've done on both sides your waist releases, your little rotating ones to cover internal and external obliques, and the fixed rib. Now we're moving into the back, swing around, almost best and last. Take your ball and you're going to place it behind you onto your sacrum. Your sacrum is a triangle-shaped bone in your pelvis. You feel this nice strong bone there. Place that there, and you're going to scoot yourself over and down to the floor. There's my ball, under there. Relax your bum down, hang out. I might just take my arms up. You might be able to see the ball is under here, but of course I'm squashing it into the black mat, but it's there, look. But I don't want to see that colour because I want to let go. Hang out. As you hang out, let your pelvis feel like it spills forward and down to the floor, and relax in wide sit bones. Let the hips open, let the ribs open. Breathing here. When you're ready, you press into your feet. Take an inhale to lift up, grab the ball, pull it a little higher up, about a vertebrae up, and then exhale, mould into the ball, drop down, spill forward. The pelvis needs to be able to move back and forward. So we're going forward. Continue, lift, adjust the ball, come down. Take your time, many vertebrae in your spine, all the way up through towards your head, right up as high as your eyes. You won't be able to get that far up in your skull. And if you get to a point where you can't physically manhandle it, just move yourself down that way. Oh, there goes a nice click. So I'm starting to get into my thoracic, which is my chest area. That's quite stiff. My lower back, my neck is a curve that goes in. They can be very over mobile. The mid-back usually is a curve that goes out and therefore it gets a bit stiff. So this is also good for postural things in your upper back. Continue to go all the way. You notice I'm taking my time. As I go further, I'm increasing the shape of my body. Now I've got quite a mobile back, so I can get my bum down and my head down. But if you looked a little bit like this with your head, then maybe stick something underneath your head so it's not quite so much. And similarly, if your pelvis was not able to touch the floor, or it felt very uncomfortable to do so, and it may feel slightly, then use either your hands, place them underneath, or fists, or a book or something. It needs to be like not too comfortable, but not painful. Continue to move the ball up your back in stages until eventually you finish the last one. I've lost my ball in your neck. Pelvis is down in your neck. Let the chest hang out and relax. And eventually when you finish all of them and you take the ball away and you lie down, it just feels delicious. Now of course you can release many other places. So you can use the ball around your chest, you can use it around your arms, you can use it at the calf. A great one as well to do in the pelvis is in the leg area, the hamstrings. So taking the ball underneath the curve of the bum, we call that the gluteal fold, into that crease curve, sit on top of it, and then kind of try to lean on it. Oh, that's a nice place. It's quite tight under there. And rolling it down the back of your leg, into the glute fold, back of the knee. All of these exercises come with a free arm workout. Remember, you've got a hamstring roller would cover a lot more. But you also want to just perhaps think of the lateral outside border and inside borders as well. So by doing that, I'm just going to turn my thigh slightly out, go forward back, and the other way around, in and out. And as I say, if you want to then go to your calf, you can do things like the calf. But for the purposes of what we're talking about, to help your pelvis, you really want to be thinking about pelvic floor, buttocks, deep bum muscle, hip, leg, IT band, back of the leg, hamstring, waist, and back. The final one to think about is here across the front. The rectus abdominis is your six-pack muscle that comes from up here and attaches all the way down to here, your pubic bone, which is attached to your pelvis. So that's why we're doing these exercises. They all come into your pelvis. So I'm going to rest it onto my pubic bone and begin to roll it up and down like this. I'm going to do my belly in a minute, but I'm just showing you from here. So the ball will be going up and down like so, and I'm trying to really hang out into it so it's getting deep inside me. Then I'm going to take it up into one side and start to go diagonally this way, diagonally that way, diagonally this way, diagonally that way. It becomes like a diamond shape. So here we go. On my front, ball towards the pubic bone. Won't be able to see anything. Rest. You need to tuck your t-shirt in for this one because otherwise you can look like you're having a baby. And if you roll, oh, it can feel, again, uncomfortable. Pull yourself the other way. Forward and back. Then going out to one side. I'm starting from my top and going diagonally over this way. Up to the side. Into the top. Ooh, rest to the side. And then just back to the middle and all the way down. Please do not do that one if you have an abdominal separation. If you do have an abdominal separation, you really want to do all of these apart from that one and get really comfortable with this one, the waist one. Do this, do something else. Do this, repeat it. Do this, repeat it. Get really good at doing these ones, maybe at least 7 times in a little workout session. What that's doing is allowing the oblique muscles to stretch open, and then when you do your tightening exercises, then you can come back together again. This one down the front, releasing the rectus abdominis down the front here, particularly good going into the pelvis if this is a very tight spot for you. It can be, as we said, an overactive pelvic floor causing problems. It can also be here. Lots of people these days don't like that, hang out in the belly. And I don't mean with this really bad posture, but I mean just relaxing the belly. My belly is now relaxed, and there really is holding in. You can often find, particularly people working fitness, they never really rest their body. They're always tightening and holding it up all day, walking around with a really tight, flat stomach, and that is no good for pelvic floor or back or anything. Also, similarly, people that are very busy and rushing around, active lives, find that they're tightening here all day long because we're always running like this. Rest a bit more. So there you have it. There are your exercises to help you release through fascia ball or a roller. Check out other ones that we've got for realigning and restoring your body. 3 different sections put together. Here are your releases. Have a great day.